For the latest rundown, first up, US investors are giving the new Fed chief the thumbs up.
Yes, that appears to be the case as Janet Yellen went to Capitol Hill on Tuesday. For the first time since she became the new chair of the Federal Reserve, she testified to American lawmakers. Investors, they were watching and listening closely to the testimony for clues on where Yellen may lead the Fed. The message they got was one of continuity. She said the Fed will continue on the course set out by her predecessor, Ben Bernanke. Yellen said the central bank will be dialing back its stimulus of the U.S. economy, but she said it'll happen gradually to ensure that the U.S. economy actually improves. Let's listen in.
Since the financial crisis and the depths of the recession, substantial progress has been made in restoring the economy to health and in strengthening the financial system. Still, there is more to do. Too many Americans remain unemployed. Inflation remains below our longer-term objective.
Now, it does appear indeed that U.S. investors liked what they heard there from Janet Yellen, because U.S. stock markets, they ended Tuesday's session with some solid gains. The Dow Jones Industrial Average flirted with the 16,000 mark at the close and was up 1.2% at the end of trading. In Europe at the close, the indices were also higher. And in Europe, too, the focus was very much on Janet Yellen and her message of continuity there at the Federal Reserve. Now, the United States is ready to take action against firms that violate sanctions against Iran. That warning came from Barack Obama during a briefing with French President François Hollande in Washington earlier. It follows a recent visit by a large French trade delegation to Iran with French heavyweights like Total and Renault included. Iran is hoping that Western powers will relax sanctions as the two sides are due to hold talks over Iran's nuclear program. President Obama says an agreement must come before sanctions are dropped. Now, François Hollande is on a 3-day tour of the United States, and he seemed to be using at least part of that trip to boost his business credentials. On Wednesday, he'll be traveling to Silicon Valley, home to many of America's most successful tech companies. It's also the new home of a new generation of French internet entrepreneurs who say that France and François Hollande has a lot to learn from American business practices. Olivia Salazar-Winspear has more.
It's the 21st century's digital technology and startup mecca. François Hollande's hoping he can take some of the magic of Silicon Valley back home with him. He's visiting the business hub on Wednesday to see how things are done here. Many French entrepreneurs in California say they had to get out of France to get ahead.
French entrepreneur is not really well regarded in France yet. I hope it's going to change, maybe with the French president coming to the US, showing that he has some interest with the French high tech.
Critics of the French business climate say that drumming up venture capital's tricky. Then getting further finance to expand is another challenge. Others say cultural differences mean taking risks is frowned upon back on the old continent.
In France, if you fail, you're a failure. Here, if you fail, you learned. You have experience.
On this trip, Hollande's visiting the headquarters of tech giants Google, Facebook and Twitter, the kind of Silicon Valley success stories many countries aspire to. Yet the firms have recently come in for criticism from Hollande himself, who said their tax avoidance strategies are simply not acceptable.
Let's take a closer look at some of the companies in the spotlight this Tuesday. Barclays is under fire for hiking bonuses while axing jobs. While outlining its quarterly results, the British bank unveiled plans to slash up to 12,000 jobs. It also emerged that Barclays' bonus pool for bankers increased by £210 million last year. Chief Executive Anthony Jenkins defends the higher payments. He says the bank needs to stay competitive on pay to attract the right kind of employees. Shares in TomTom dropped almost 15% during Tuesday's session in Europe. It came as the maker of satellite navigation devices warned that its sales would drop this year. This as users are swapping dedicated navigation devices for smartphones. TomTom's fourth quarter earnings also dropped to 97% to just €3 million. And General Motors says its new chief executive, Mary Barra, will earn $14.4 million this year. GM made her payment details public after reports last week that she would earn $4.4 million. Her male predecessor, Dan Akerson, made $9 million, and feminist campaigners expressed outrage last week that Barra would earn less than that. She's the first woman to lead a global car manufacturer, so I suppose those feminist campaigners, they are watching this case very closely indeed. That being said, I wouldn't say no to $4.4 million either. I need to say that. Back to you, Luke.
Thank you very much, Marcus, with that update from the world of business. You're watching France 24 live from Paris. Time now for our Media Watch, and for that, our Media Watch.